in New Jersey for a change. Most of you would know I live in Romania, in the city of Târgu-Mureș, with a population of about 113,550. So relatively similar to Edison, New Jersey, if you're familiar with that area, although probably a bit more compact than the cities here. We're similar in size to the state of Oregon, and we have Ukraine as our neighbor to the north. Hungary and Serbia are to our west. To our south, we have Bulgaria, and then to our east, we have Moldova and Ukraine again. So you can kind of get a little picture of us. We even have a little bit of the Black Sea. Romania is made up of mountains, plains, forests, fields, farming fields, just a little bit of everything throughout the country, and a very rich soil, so they're able to grow a lot of good crops there. Background, for some that may not know me, Christmas 2000, my youth group gave gifts to all of the missionary children that we supported, and I got a girl in Argentina and a boy in Romania. And through that grew a pen pal friendship, and through that friendship, God developed a desire and a love for Romania, to be there, to serve there. And after 4 years of writing, I visited his family for 2 weeks over Easter break in 2005, and then raised support and returned to serve with them that August through December. So there should be some pictures if you want to skip on to the next one. 2005 was the first time, and during that time, God gave me a love for Romania and its people and a desire to serve there, sharing his love and the message of the gospel. And the door opened again to return in June 2015 for 13 months. So 10 years God had me here in the States. I was serving in other ministries, and God was growing me and teaching me, preparing me to be back in Romania. In 2015, I worked with local ministry that ran Bible clubs after school, summer camps with Roma children, and we also worked with local young adults that had been orphaned. So they'd come through the system, and we were kind of their family. Summer 2017, I was able to take a team of 9 from my sending church in Colorado, and we ran 2 weeks of VBS with the kids that I had worked with. So that was really cool. Also that summer, I joined Global Grace, a missionary sending agency. While working in Colorado, I raised support to return to Romania, and I arrived in Târgu-Mureș June 2019. And since then, you'll see a slide of more things going on. God has led me to work from just children's ministries into women's ministries, Bible studies, retreats, hosting other missionaries, being a part of outreaches with different churches, and delivering aid in the gospel in Ukraine, leading special events and activities, partnering with ministries and NGOs in my city. So a lot of different things going on. So just to recap, what is the population of Târgu-Mureș? Yes. Good job. You can go to her. Yep. Kudos to those that take notes. So was my pen pal in Romania a girl or a boy? Boy. Go ahead. You go back there. Good job. What year did God open the door for me to return to Romania for 13 months? Yes, right there. And what is the name of my sending agency?
Global Grace.
You didn't raise your hand. All right. So currently, you'll see a schedule for me. These weeks and months are filled with opportunities to serve in a variety of ways. And so we're going to look real briefly at some of those things. If you get the update letter and read it, you'll be more familiar with some of these things that happen on a regular basis. So After looking at the schedule, then you'll be able to see that I'm at Liberty Baptist Church on Sunday mornings. Actually, just was texting with my pastor this morning about a girl that's in the hospital. So, sharing info. I'll be there. You'll see we have special services for baby dedications, sharing camp testimonies. They run 2 weeks of camp in the first 2 weeks of August, so that's coming up for them. And just different special times of outreach, praying over our kids before they started the school year. Reaching out to our community. They have college outreach, meetings, youth group, prayer meetings, all different kinds of things. Our pastor also will go and preach once a month at a church nearby that does not have a pastor. And so it's kind of a village church that he helps oversee and shepherd. We have a second small church about 45 minutes away. And we're also doing the same thing with children's ministries. There's kids in the village, but there's not a staff at the church to really do anything. And so they go out there.
I know you're going to have questions later, but
Yeah.
is this your week in Romania?
Yes.
Okay.
No worries. Good question. Yes, I don't know where we are because I can't see it. So we can pop to the next slide and you'll see pictures of the church and ministries that are there. There you go. So I also tend to gravitate towards those that are getting translation, because usually that's for English, and find those that have a headset and invite them over for some fellowship and chat with them, see where they're from. Sometimes they're students, sometimes they're traveling through, sometimes it's family members that have lived in other parts of the world and have come back to visit. And so just a lot of things happening. The church is growing, although Pastor said this morning that he feels like everyone's on vacation and the church is rather empty. So summer's a bit rough. Next, on Tuesdays, I will be preparing my lesson and activities for women's Bible studies, clean the house, I make dinner, and I host that gathering in the evening. We have just finished the book of Habakkuk before I left. The ladies' favorite study is still Nehemiah out of all books. So I recommend both. Habakkuk and Nehemiah are wonderful. We have a great time trying to think of creative activities for them, because for some of the ladies, they've been saved a long time. For some of the ladies, they've only been saved 3 and 4 years, and so they're baby Christians, and they have a lot of great questions, and we've had some really good discussions together as we go through either a book of the Bible or a topical study. So this next year, I'm looking at preparing for Christ's redemption and seeing his story of redemption from Genesis to Revelation. So that's going to be really fun to dig into that, and looking forward to it. Wednesday mornings, I'm baking early because that's the second women's Bible study. We're together 2 times because of schedules. Ladies that come after work in the evening, ladies who have kids in school can come in the morning, and so it just works out to have 2 time slots available. Usually I have about 12 ladies split between the groups. Sometimes it's down to 1, sometimes I have 8, you never really know. On WhatsApp, you can put a poll, and I make them sign up, so I know how many people I'm cooking for. Next, you'll see on Fridays, I leave for Szkoła Omega at 6:45 in the morning. So early because there's crazy traffic in our little city. Our tiny roads were not made for everyone owning a car, so it's a bit insane. And if I get a taxi or a Bolt, and I wait, I may not get a ride, and the price will be tripled. So I usually always leave before 7 if possible. There's also a train tracks I have to cross, and you get stuck there for a long time if it's after 7. So I had a taxi driver pick me up, and I had told him where I was going, and he stopped real quick and looked back at me and said, school doesn't start till 8. I was like, I know. And he was like worried, the crazy Americans going to school way too early. And I explained to him why I was going there so early, and then he was like, oh, okay. So that's the main parts of a week. And then we jump into things that happen on a more monthly basis. We have girls' lunch, which is after church on Sundays. High school, college, career gals that are single gather together for a homemade meal. Plan some activities for them. We also have a short Bible study. We've been going through the 25 characteristics of God in a really beautiful book, and they've really enjoyed that. I decorate and do food sometimes according to season or holiday of the month. So you'll see, I think there's a picture of Valentine's Day up there, St. Patrick's Day, telling the real story of St. Patrick and that history, and just fun gathering times. One of our gals from church has done mission trips to Africa, and so we had an African celebration and prepared African food that day for everybody that came over. So that was a lot of fun. It's a great time, again, for good conversations. In May, before I came, we ended up having a really good talk, and one of my gals that attends, she came in the middle and joined in, and I said, do you have anything you want to join into the discussion with? Because we'd all been talking on some hot topics as a group. And she said, well, something about the salvation and God and his presence. And she went in this short spiel, and there was one part that I perked up to, and that was God's salvation for those he selects. And I made eye contact with a few of the other girls, and we were like, I think we need to address that. And so we spent the next hour going through scripture and examples and how God's gift of salvation is a gift that is presented to all. Not all will receive that gift, which we see in scripture, but it is there for all. In my part of the world, it's very hard for someone to think that Putin could accept Christ. There is an option on the table for him if he would see it and respond to it. But there's a mindset that there are people that the gift is not even offered to, and that it's by your works and your goodness that you are offered this gift. And so we had a really interesting time. I was so proud of two of my college girls that come. They really jumped on and were like, wait, but the Bible says this. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. So let them preach for a while. And the young lady did not leave with her mind changed, but she had a lot more info to go on. And I told her, do your homework, because she couldn't give me book, chapter, verse. And I said, you need to. If this is what you believe, then you need book, chapter, verse to back it up. And we had it, but she didn't. So I just pray that over the summer, God would have directed her to his word and just illuminated it to her so that she would see the truth that's in there. Once or twice a month, I go into a village of Korbest on Thursdays to lead a women's Bible study. They speak Hungarian there, so I'm translated for the ladies. I plan activities. I bring fun snacks that go along with my lesson. Working with Roma ladies, or any Roma really, you have to take your lesson that I may teach to my regular ladies, and you need to redo it to teach a 4s and 5s class, because you're dealing with an illiterate people group. So something I did in April, which is the picture here in front of the house, all the ladies were outside, and I'd gone through my house and picked up a whole bunch of things and handed them out. And then I had each lady describe to me what you're holding. And one said, well, I'm holding a Ziploc bag. Okay. Another one, I'm holding a bowl or a soup can or a tape dispenser and various items. And at the end, I said, now I want you ladies to tell me what is the same for all your items. And they looked at them, and they studied them, and they talked to each other, and they could not figure out what in the world was the same, because the color wasn't, the size wasn't, how you used it wasn't the same. They were totally lost. So finally, they said, Sarah, tell us, what's the same? So all the items you have are empty. And we were going to be talking about the empty tomb and how most of the time something's empty, it's not a good thing. Empty tank of gas, not great. Empty bank account, not good. But an empty tomb is a wonderful thing to be empty. And so that led into our lesson. And an object lesson like that, I really hope that it will make the Bible lesson stick in their minds, even though they can't read it, that it would be stuck in their minds about empty and how God sent his son for them. So, yeah, get creative when you're working with the Roma ladies or children or anyone in the village. So, what is the name of my church in Romania? Did I say it? I think I did. Oh, was it good? Do you remember? Liberty. Liberty what? Yes. He gets a prize. What study did I just finish with my ladies' Bible study groups? Yes. Great little book. Straight back. How many classes do I teach at Szkoła Omega? This is a trick question. Nope, that's ladies' Bible studies. No. Grades 5th through 8th. I may have forgotten to mention it. I highlighted it on here too. So 4 classes. Did it say 5th through 8th? There you go.
It said 5th through 8th.
Yeah,
I don't recall saying how many times.
that's right. I probably missed it. 4 classes. 1 class each, usually in a row, sometimes with a gap, but I try to get them all on one day. And I teach the same thing in each of the classes, so just modified slightly between 5th grade and 8th grade. What language am I translated into when I work with the Roma ladies? Yes. Good job. She gets a second prize. And then you can gift it to someone. Go ahead. Yep. Something that's going to happen more seasonally will be activities like neighbor and taxi driver outreach. And so I try to be creative, think of things I can put together, small gifts, because someone's more likely to take a tract from me if there's something else in there, like Reese's peanut butter cups or something like that. The guys that are sitting there in their taxis waiting for someone to come for the ride. I'll also include QR codes to the Bible Project, putting on a video translated into Romanian so they can click on it and see the Christmas story played out in video for them to see and watch while they wait for the next customer. And so these are creative ways to reach them in where they are. You can bump to the next slide. Also, being creative in giving gifts to my neighbors and going through, I'm in a concrete communist block. So we have 20 apartments within my stairwell. There's over like 180 apartments within my area. There's just a complex of some blocks. And so 19 gifts are prepared for those neighbors that I can stick in their mailboxes. And then once a year, I try to do something like the bake loaves of bread, and I go to their door. It's not as productive because the older generation does not answer the door because they look through the little peephole and say, I don't know you, I'm not answering, which I can't blame them. But they also, if they do open it, they tell me they don't want it. And I'm like, it's free, and they still don't want it. So it's easier for me to stick in their mailbox because then it disappears and goes into their apartment and they're not as confronted as someone coming to their door. So I was told by someone else that I work with that, oh yeah, that whole area knows about the American that lives there in the block. So I have a reputation. Next you'll see trips into Ukraine. These have slowed due to finances. When the war in Israel began, the donations for Ukraine really dropped. And so we had a team of Ukrainian and Romanian guys that were going like every 2 to 3 weeks. They were heading to the front lines, bringing supplies. That has dropped down to probably every 2 months. They're able to make a trip out there. 2 to 3 times in the year, my pastor will coordinate with them and head to the front lines. This was our trip in December. As you can see, some Ukraine guys are really big, and I'm really small. He's one of our best ones, Kolya. We have a lot of fun. We've done some life experiences together. I am the only girl in the group that comes. I don't know why. Usually me and about 13 or 15 guys. And one time we stopped at a church, and they had made us dinner, and we didn't get there till like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. But we ate the dinner because they had prepared it for us. And after eating the dinner, everybody divided up, and some of our guys had hotels to go to. And the pastor had said that he had set up housing for me. I mean, being the only girl, I do usually get my own room, so I can't complain. But few of the other Ukrainian guys were staying behind, and they had housing for them. So 3 Ukrainian guys and me waiting for the pastor to direct us where to go. It's now about midnight. So it's pitch black outside. And this young girl comes up and says, okay, follow me. So, okay. So she takes us out, and it's total mud. So there's these random boards laid out that we're walking this path with her, past these little houses. We get to the far house. We go in. It's a tiny little kitchen, and then like a bigger room that has 2 bunk beds. And she said, here, and stuff, and then she disappeared. And I was like, oh. And I looked at the guys, and they looked at me, and Kolya was like, no. And I said, it's okay, I'll just climb up and lay on the bed and go to sleep. And he was like, no. So he hunted down that girl, came back, and found out that she did have another room with a bunk bed that she shared with another girl. Her room was about the size of a closet. Basically had the bunk bed with enough room to walk around it and a little wardrobe at the end. And she said, but the other bed's not mine, it's this other girl's. And he's like, Sarah's sleeping there. And we guys have this room. Not that we slept much, because, well, they snored a lot, plus there were sirens through the night. But nobody got up, so we didn't get up. You just stayed there. So, fun story of Kolya. We have a special connection now. You'll see in the top right corner, Kostel is the tall man. He is a Ukrainian lay pastor serving in his church. He also runs a family business. He's 3rd-generation woodworker. His family used to send their furniture and wood goods throughout Europe before the war. He employs 7 families through his company, and so he's seen as an essential worker because of that, and also because he runs humanitarian aid to the front lines. He is our coordinator for all the trips we do. He finds pastors that are in frontline towns, and he connects with them and says, what are the needs of your people? How can we help you? And then he lets us know. We try to raise the funds and put it together for a trip. Pastor Nicu, the shorter guy, you'll see there, that is my pastor from Romania. So in the first part of Ukraine, when you looked at that map, if you drive for about an hour, that used to be Romania. And so most of the people in that area of Ukraine all speak Romanian as well. So Pastor Nicu's preaching in Romanian, and Kostel is translating him into Ukrainian. And that's usually every place we go, they get to share the gospel. One thing, they pulled a fast one on me in December. We had done a day of outreach and meetings, got back to a hotel. It's about 10 o'clock at night, and they were like, hey, Sarah, you want to do the kids' teaching tomorrow? Probably like 3 times. And I was like, sure. With what? Okay. So I got to my room, and I was just praying, Lord, how in the world do I keep their attention? Because our Ukrainian guys don't know English. So that means I'm going to say something, and then the Romanian guy's going to translate into Romanian, and then the next guy's going to translate it into Ukrainian. So there's going to be 3 of us up there. And that could be really boring, right? Who wants to wait to hear something? So I was thinking, Lord, I need inspiration. I don't have visuals. I don't have any materials. They didn't warn me I was doing this. And he brought to my mind Simon Says. And I was like, okay, I can do this. So I found a really simple children's track. And you're like, why do you need a track? Because when you're being double translated, you lose your train of thought constantly, and you can't stay focused. And so having him hold the little track here, I could follow along with where I was going while it was being translated, and I would do a motion, told all the kids, follow me. When I do a motion, you do it and hold it until it comes back to me again. And they did an excellent job. We're standing out there. It's cold enough that I have a ski base layer, I have a hoodie, a down jacket, and a down coat. And it's still cold. in one of those places, like up at the top, it was very open. So the wind is just coming through, and then it started snowing. And they just stayed lined up right there through the whole program, me teaching the lesson to the kids, the guys preaching the gospel message, the singing, everything. And then we gave donations at the end. So, I mean, they're an amazing people. I don't know any American crowd that would stay outside that long. But, so, yeah, very resilient. Most of the villages where we are, the churches, the schools, the hospital, any bigger building has all been demolished through bombs. One of the pastors has worked with another organization from the States and been able to raise funds for something about the size of a large shed, probably double this stage, set up on blocks, and he has a little machine up in the wall that does some heat or air, and they gather inside that now as a church building. And so he's gotten about 6 or 8 of those they've been able to put together in the villages where the main buildings have all been demolished along with homes. And so we're able to go in, share the gospel. And that in one village we got to go inside. And that was a lot nicer, but very crowded. When we're in those villages, we're about 10 to 15 miles from the front line. So you'll hear the action happening in the background as we're having the service with the people. The guys have gone closer. In April, they went right into one of the main cities where it's been like Armageddon for like a year now. We did lose a pastor there through the bombings. But I got dropped off in Odessa and spent some time with a single missionary lady that's there. And that was really sweet. And God answered prayers for 3 days. We were not bombed. And she was like, "Can you just stay?" Said, "I don't know. It wasn't me. We just prayed that it would be peaceful." And it was. And it's really funny. Right when I was leaving and the guys pulled up to pick me up, the sirens went off. And I was like, "Well, time to go." So, yeah. Really needed ministry. And no matter what happens, our work in Ukraine will be for the next decade at least, because they will still need aid. They will still need the gospel. They will still need encouragement and uplifting. And so for those of us on the ground in Romania, we don't see an end to this anytime soon. We will continue trying to outreach as much as possible. And my pastor's heart is that our church in Romania would adopt a church in Ukraine and be able to pour into them and help them and support them in rebuilding and reaching their community. So once things stop, hopefully, in the future, we'll be able to move forward with plans like that. WIM retreats. This happens every spring. Women in Ministry is what WIM stands for. So they've either going into ministry, they're new into it, they're currently been serving in ministry, or they have a ministry background that they have served in. And so you'll see that God has blessed. We had 8, then we had 11, 17. Last year was weird. We had 2 WIMs. Because there were a group of ladies that begged me to still do something so they could get away. And this year, we were a total of 33 women at the retreat, plus 3 infants. I didn't count them in the number because they didn't really participate. But that was just amazing. There were 6 of us that were working, and the rest of the ladies, I believe that's 27 of them, attended. And most of that group had never attended before, had no idea what the WIM retreat was, and were just amazed at this time of rest. And so we have a wonderful time of coming away. There really isn't cell service there, which is wonderful. It's based off of retreats that I've attended, as well as the Ladies' Prayer Advance, kind of combining ideas there to make it work. And so Saturday morning, we get together Friday evening, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. After breakfast, we have a devotional time in the Word. And then I send the ladies out for their sweet hour of prayer, an uninterrupted time with them and their Lord. And so that is beautiful. Romania is a country that kind of chews up and eats its ministry workers. You really never have free time. or off time, because there's always someone with a need and always somewhere you need to go or do something. And so this time away was just really huge and amazing and totally God blessed in great ways. We have a focus each year, and God had led me to Psalm 90 and Psalm 91. And I really started digging into Psalm 91 and dwell. The word dwell was just standing out to me. And looking up through Scripture, the word dwell. And in our first day, the teaching was how God desires to dwell with us. And the second day, how we can dwell with God. So from Genesis, God's wanted to dwell with his people. And this thing called sin got in the way and blocked it. It made him further away because he would be in the tabernacle. He would be in the temple. So he was by his people, but he wasn't dwelling as close as he wanted to. But through Christ's sacrifice and rising again and opening that way, that curtain was torn. And now God can dwell in us. And so that's a really awesome thing. But when we flip it and we have us dwelling with God, which he also desires, when we study it, we realize that's not always where we actually are. And so there was a worksheet for the ladies when they went out to their sweet hour of prayer to go through and say, in these life situations, do I dwell with God or am I dwelling somewhere else? And if you really sit down and evaluate that, you realize many times I'm not actually dwelling in God's presence. I'm over here dwelling in anxiety. I'm over here dwelling in control. I'm over here dwelling in other ways, and you know, because we're human, we do it. And just the realization, and one of the ladies had come to me and said, wow, Sarah, I came here on fire for God, serving with my husband. We've had children, life's been busy, ministry's busy. I just sat and did this. I didn't dwell in the first column for anything. How'd that happen? How did I get here? I don't want to be here. I don't want to dwell in all these other places. I want to dwell with my Lord. And so talking with her, praying with her through that, and trying to make a game plan, moving forward of how to dwell with God in these circumstances and not dwell elsewhere. So WIM Retreat is a really awesome thing that God has blessed. Holidays, parties, get-togethers, mentoring, one-on-one. These are big things that I'm a part of. You'll bump to that next slide. You'll see lots of groups of people. I have many gatherings in my home, meeting 101 either out or at home, mentoring college girls or working girls, new believers, and just giving time and space in order to have good conversations. I'll actually be discipling one of our young ladies. She was with me for the past year through a college exchange program. She's German. And right after I left Romania to come to the States, she was baptized, which was super exciting. And my pastor asked that I would continue with a year of discipleship with her, which will be online because she'll be back in Italy with her studies. So be working through a Bible study with her and discipleship time. And just creating spaces to get together. You see a group of girls in the middle on the right, and that was just a quick, hey, let's grab some food, get in the car, go to a hill and see the sunset. And just doing something simple like that. Doesn't have to cost a lot of money. It's pretty much free to go out there and then sit there, enjoy God's creation, and allow the conversations to come. This is what's happening at work. This is what I'm dealing with at school, and being able to speak truth into those moments. And so really special and very important. So some keys to serving well is being flexible. And with that may come some extra travel in the midst of a full schedule. You'll see in the next slide. Last year in June, I flew to the States for a 1-week turnaround trip. That was crazy. To Pittsburgh and helped move a missionary family back. That actually is my pen pal that originally got me to Romania, Jonathan and his wife and his kids. And so helped them move back to the States for some health reasons. And so that was a fun thing to do, hard. We had about 20 pieces of luggage altogether, plus 2 children. So customs was interesting. Also helping out with a Roma wedding. That was about, by bus, it took me almost 6 hours to get there. But this young lady had accepted the Lord as a young teen and grown in the Lord. She met a young guy that's also a gypsy, a Roma guy from another camp, working summer camps together. And God grew the relationship, and they married last fall, and that was just a beautiful testimony. As far as I know, no one in that village has ever had a real wedding. You just kind of sleep with someone, and then you're together, and then they sleep with someone else, and then you have all these multiple children, and it's chaos. But their testimony of purity before their entire village was huge impact of how God has changed their lives, and that it is possible to live differently than the cycle. Also hosting teams that are coming to either work with me in Romania or to visit and learn about missions. But on the flip side of all of that, you also need to take breaks before you break, because sometimes life goes crazy. And so you'll see I was in Italy last summer for 2 weeks with some friends, and my sister showed up, which was an awesome surprise. Visiting another missionary friend in Toronto this June. And once a year, Asmara runs retreats around the globe for women that serve full-time. And so usually there's somewhere throughout Europe that I can get to. And that's a time where I just get to attend. And that's really, really sweet time. The teaching, the prayer time, the small group discussions, the free time in the afternoon for fun stuff, it totally fills me back up for where I'm serving. And just the camaraderie with the other ladies and hearing their stories of where they are. It's just a real huge, huge blessing to be a part of that. And so, yeah, those are all various things that happen. And I have a few more questions. Are you ready? These are the last ones. Why have trips to Ukraine slowed? You already answered. Finances, yes. Due to finances, we have slowed down in our trips. How far, go ahead, she got it. How far are we from the front lines when we're usually holding these evangelistic services?
15 kilometers.
Close. I changed it for you guys, so it's miles.
Is it like 20?
10 to 15 miles from the front lines. So, yes, he got it. Yep. How many ladies attended the WIM retreat this year? 33. Yes. She got one. And what is the name of the retreat that I attend each year? Yes. Asmara, yes. She can get another one and hand it to a friend. Good job. So looking to the future, we have some annual projects that are always there annually. You'll see Christmas in Corbești will be there. That's our next slide there. Going to about 30 houses in the Roma village where I do the ladies' Bible studies. Giving out gifts and singing and praying with the people at Christmas. This is a big highlight for them and for us as we get teams of volunteers to go. A lot of times the young people that volunteer are not believers. And so this is a way for them to experience not only giving and what missions looks like, but what it looks like to have Christ in Christmas. So it's a twofold thing. We had a church in Florida that has adopted the village. They raise the funds and they send it to us, and we go shopping for all the supplies to fill the shoe boxes we do for the kids. And then I have a shoebox wrapping party with a bunch of people that volunteer to do that. And then a ton of people I need to recruit in order to pack everything in vehicles and get it out to the village. So I try to raise separate funds so that we can include a food item along with it, like meat, or this case, we had donated, I think these are like, it's probably a 40-pound bag of potatoes, something that would last them longer than just the fresh meat they would need to cook now if they don't have refrigeration. But some kind of food staple item for them. For Ukraine, we do raise a lot of funds because we're trying to get supplies for about 1,000 people. And not only buy the supplies, but we also have to feed our hungry vans that get us there. So on a trip east, you can easily make about 53 hours in the van of driving. Ukraine is massive. You never really think about that till you have to drive it. And so those vans get hungry, and we have to fill them up in order to keep going. And so we try to raise about $3,000 each for the leaders that are going, and bring that to the pot in order to get everything that we need out east. So that's a big undertaking. And then scholarships. This year we had 8 ladies attend on scholarship that otherwise had written me, sorry, Sarah, just not going to make it this year. Salaries aren't that high in Romania, especially in ministry. And if they're a Romanian pastor, their wife is most likely working full-time as well, trying to make ends meet. And so throwing on a retreat that's just for them when they may still need to set up childcare and things at home can be pricey. And so offering the scholarship enabled some women that hadn't had a retreat in years to be able to get away. And so that was a huge, huge blessing. I love to share how I was praying about it, and I'm answering these ladies this spring saying, yes, come anyway, thinking, I don't have that money. Okay, Lord, I don't have this. How am I supposed to pay for this? But I know you want them there, and I want them there. And so I just kept saying, sign up and make sure you put in that you need the scholarship. And my mom had contacted me that a friend had sent a check of $500, and that went and covered those scholarships. And so that person that sent it didn't know what was going on, didn't know that I was asking God for this money, and that's just how our Father works. So my vision to do more ministry out of my home. I do hope to find a larger place in the next year. I can squeeze 16 to 18 into my living room, but it gets really tight. It's not that big of a room. And so I'm looking at moving to a larger place so that I can accommodate more gatherings. I've been asked to teach some classes. Again, having more space would make that a possibility. And so that's kind of where we're moving in the future, moving to a larger space, being able to host more people and do more activities out of my home. And so that's a goal, and I would ask that you would join me in prayer for that, for God's leading, His provision, and this big step of growth. I thank you for your support. It is a blessing. It is a help. This is your ministry. You are a part of everything that you see happening. This is yours. And I don't do it alone. And so I just thank you for your faithfulness in being there and knowing that you guys are not just financial supporters, you're friends, and that you're praying and you're behind me. On the table, on the display, you'll see a spot for prayer partner. And I encourage you to take a picture of yourself. You can do a selfie, or you can ask someone to take your picture. It prints it out, and then I put all those photos together on a board in my home. So when I walk in on the hard day, because you know those happen, I see that whole group of faces, and I'm reminded that I'm not there alone, that you are all there with me. So I encourage you to stop by the table, check that out. There's also some information on Costel and how his ministry is run, how you can support him. He created these little keychains out of scraps from his shop. And so for any Ukraine donations, you can take those keychains and pray for them. Take the little card. There's a QR code on it in order to go to his website and see his story of how God has led him to what he does today. There's also some pretzels, so I encourage you to check those out. They're Romanian pretzels. They're not sweet. They're savory. If you like rye bread, you would like these pretzels. So enjoy everything that's out on the table. And we're going to close with a short film. It's called Faces. Do we have that one? Okay. Any question while we wait for that to come? Yes.
How much are the scholarships?
The scholarship for the ladies is $60. Yes. Yeah. That covers 8 meals and the room and board and the whole entire weekend for them. Yeah. Yes.
How many people do you have that the camera took it of?
How many people do I have pictures of? I'm not sure. That's a good question. I didn't count them. We should count afterwards, okay? Okay. So, any other questions, thoughts?
Do you speak Romanian?
I do, not fluently. I've never had a long enough period to study the language by itself, because when you have this schedule, language study is exhausting mentally. So it's kind of like either I do ministry or I learn the language. And I've always been thrown in whenever I would go. I would have like a day of getting over jet lag, and then I'd be like 12 hours in on whatever project or summer camp we were running. So I never had that luxury. I've considered it a few times. I did study it more during COVID because I couldn't go anywhere. But it's not great. It should be better, but most of the ministry that God's given me is in English. Like in Bible study, the ladies are Romanian, Hungarian, German, Nepali, Dutch, Canadian, American. So the commonality is that we'll study in English. The beauty is when we pray, they pray in their heart language, and I just think that's beautiful to hear all the languages. And then again, the Bibles they're studying are in different languages as well, and that's really special. But yeah, I know how to talk to taxi drivers really well. So if you get me in my little bubble.
If you can get there and you can find the bathroom, you're probably gonna
Yes. I know enough Romanian to travel the country, so that's good. Is it still hiding out on us? Okay. Thank you, guys. It's coming. You can hit play at any point. So, as God's given me a burden for the people in Romania, I hope that you too will catch a vision for the work to be done there. And if you haven't already, that you would prayerfully consider joining me through your prayers, your support, your friendship. These 3 are equally important and have an impact for eternity. This film is showing the faces of those that I have worked with in the last year. Matthew 6:19 through 21 tells us, "Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." The things around us that are good or that we enjoy are temporary, earthbound. But there is something that we can take into eternity with us, and that's people. Each face you see today has come in contact with the gospel in some way. Some are curious, some are seeking, some believe, some have questions, some are struggling, some need a friend. Some of them will reach others. What a privilege for God to use us to reach those in our neighborhoods, our communities, cities, and across the globe. Together, we can have an impact in the lives of people around the world for eternity. As you watch these faces, I hope you'll think of the faces of those that cross your path, in your neighborhood, your community, that need to hear the gospel.